What happened over the last 60 years or so that caused the average black man to be weak?
Are you familiar with cellular memory?
No.
This is documented science. If indeed your ancestors, your immediate ancestors were traumatized for some reason, that you inherit that trauma on a cellular level.
If this cellular memory thing is
Cellular memory.
if that's an issue, why didn't we see that when I was growing up? I grew up under the Jim Crow laws. I grew up in Alabama. I worked in cotton fields and the plantations and things like that. And yet, black men were a noblemen for the most part. They got married. They bought land. They educated their families. They took care of themselves and others. And they were not running around blaming white folks. They got along with white Americans. Why didn't we see this issue when I was growing up as opposed to now when black people can do whatever they want? Do you agree with me that most blacks are suffering not because of this phony idea of racism, that racism does not exist, is a made-up lie for them to use as an excuse for failing? But do you agree with me that most blacks are suffering due to the destruction of the family and the lack of moral character and not this phony idea of racism?
I think most black people are dealing with post-white supremacy trauma trance. Most black people are in a trance.
That's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous to you because you don't understand what
ridiculous.
I know. Black people live in a anti-black culture that's a perpetual assault on their self-concept.
But if they were real
mentality.
men, they wouldn't be speaking that way. They were real men overcome things.
Well, what's a real man?
They're men who love God with all their heart, soul, and might, along with nothing else, and they patiently endure. They overcome rather than complaining like little women.
Well, I don't see these kind of men you're talking. I mean,
but you just
my whole life
same,
is pretty
you
much
use the
black.
same things that they use.
What do you
White
mean?
supremacy, which doesn't exist, racism, which doesn't exist. You're using the same words that most blacks are using, men and women are using for the excuse of failure.
I don't think the issue is that it doesn't exist. I think for some reason in your own personal development, you can't see it or grasp it, but
because
it exists.
It's not there. It's not there. Had it been there, blacks would not have done as well under the Jim Crow law. They did better under the Jim Crow laws than they do now. It's so amazing to me that all these lies are made up why people are suffering, and especially black people. It's a lack of moral character, the destruction of the family, a turning away from God, values. If you don't have those things, all you have are a bunch of excuses. And it's time out for the excuses. It really is. They have gotten away with blaming white folks and blaming someone else that they're just rotten to the core with it now. Here's another example of black people destroying something that's good. Everything they touch turns to ghetto. Blacks don't care about better. Really, they're not mentally, emotionally, or spiritually, or morally up to par, and they do not care.
Get rid of the white man and everything goes to hell.
It really does. So I wish it wasn't like that, but the reality is it's difficult working with black people and people of color because when they mess up and you have to correct them, you got to argue with them. You got to fight with them. It's crazy. It's the craziest thing I ever seen. And they don't seem to really know stuff. It wasn't like this, though, prior to the Civil Rights Movement. Blacks were smart, they were on it, and they didn't fight with their bosses. You really have to argue and fight with them, and then they hand their hands off for a paycheck. It's a reality. That's what you deal with black people. I know other races of people, including whites, Jewish people, those Iran people, the foreigners, and they come here and they set up shop, they have businesses, and they tell me in private, Jesse, I can't hire black people because they're so difficult. They're just absolute difficult. They come in late or they mess up. You got to fight with them, and then you have to let them go. They try to sue you for racism. It's just a mess. Black people messed up. And it wasn't always that way. That's what's so weird about it. I happen to know another world. I know a time when black people were not this way. I now know so many black people that I work with, that I've hired. You correct them, you got to fight with them. You point out stuff, they argue right away. They deny. They argue. They deny. I'm like, what in the world? And they used to just do it to other black businessmen and women owners. But now I think they do it to everybody because they've been allowed to get away with it. It's mind-blowing. I have proven. That's why white people, you got to have white babies. Get married and have white babies. Because if you give up, it's over for this country. And you're going to have to create a space somewhere in outer space. Unless there's some land on this earth that no one has discovered yet. And you can go and start. But the reality is, black people are difficult. The men and the women. It's not just the women. That's another darn thing about it. Men used to be logical. They understood common sense. They don't argue back at you. They don't try to prove anything. They just do what they need to do, and they do it right. And if they're wrong, you know what? I'm wrong. I'm sorry. I made a mistake. I was wrong. But now you argue with the men like you argue with women, especially black men. It's just reality. And white people, you know it. You need to start saying it. Otherwise, they would never come. Black people don't self-correct.
I'm pretty vocal on social media, and I'm starting to get more scared about that because when we go apply for jobs, white people, they can look at our backgrounds and stuff, and they can look at our social media and not hire us based on that.
Do you believe that if white men had spoken up years ago and not allowed people of color to go out of control like this, do you think we would have this situation in America today?
I agree with black people being able to be equal to white people. I don't agree with the whole that white people accepted this whole victimhood mentality.
Yeah.
That because of what our ancestors did, we're automatically blamed for it.
Black people are not equal to whites, and white people are not equal to blacks because we are just people. You know, we're all
that's also true, yeah.
We're all created in the image of God, so we all have the same chance in life. Either you have bad parents or you have good parents. The parents are the ones who dictate what your life began once they leave. If they're not good examples, your life going to be hell. If they are good examples, your life will be good. It has nothing to do with white people or slavery or Jim Crow. It's all lies. And black people are immoral people, and they hate white people.
Like you say, I don't think it's like all people.
No, not all, but most.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, well, the black culture has definitely accepted this whole, what Candace Owens always says, is it's a victimhood mentality instead of a victor mentality. Yes,
and that's because they've been catered to. They've been...
Yeah, exactly.
Right, they've been made to believe that they are victims. They've been catered to, and white people have not stood up and said, "Know what? I'm not your problem. Your mama is your problem. Your daddy is your problem."
Yeah, exactly.
What is a white supremacist?
I think a white supremacist is a Democrat.
I love that.
Throughout all of history, white supremacists have been Democrats.
Yep.
I was watching so-called Richard Spencer in your interview with him the other day.
Yes.
That was pretty interesting. I get a lot of what he's saying.
Yeah.
But the fact that he accepts the whole identity politics proves that he's not a Trumplican, that he's not a deplorable.
Yeah.
Because we want to get rid of all that shit. He's accepting, he's getting rid of another form of identity politics for another one.
This is why I've been trying to tell white men to speak up, because if they allow themselves to get angry at the injustice that's been put upon them, they're going to come out fighting in the wrong way, and they're going to end up in the same ditch that black people are in right now, because anger does not lead to good. It leads to destruction. But it's not going to happen until black people are corrected. Black people are out of control. White people are feeling helpless to it now at this point. And the blacks are getting worse and worse and worse. And white people are feeling more and more helpless. It's just going to only get worse. It just can't get better until white people say to black people, "No, I'm not your problem. Slavery is not your problem. Your problem is in the home. No good parents. It starts in the home." Are you like amazed how blacks destroy everything? Most blacks today, unlike the days when I was growing up, are mentally ill. They're mentally retarded. And let me tell you how.
Most. Did you? I just want to be clear. You said most black folks. You said most.
Right.
Not
all,
some.
Not all.
Not
all.
some.
Right.
You said most black folks are mentally ill or retarded.
Yes.
Okay.
Give a white man a pile of bricks and he'll build a city. Give a black man a city and he'll build a pile of bricks.
That is so true. Why is it that it's only white people who are able to build great and free nation or country? I don't know of any other race or any other country where the dominant race have been able to do that and everybody want to go there. What is it about white people that other cultures don't seem to have? I said once on my radio show that because most blacks are so lazy now, because of the government taking care of them.
If blaming is wrong, why are you comfortable with allowing whites to blame blacks for the college scandal? Your theory is that all whites are good enough and not a single black can get into college.
Because what you got to realize, blacks are not smart enough. They don't qualify to get into colleges or get these jobs or be a good actress or an actor or actress. And that's why blacks have forced affirmative action upon white people by accusing white people of racial discrimination and all this stuff. Blacks have forced white people to accept that they don't know how to do it. They're not smart enough, so let us in because we're black, they say. You got to let us in. And then the white people finally said, all right, I'll let you in, but at least pass the SAT score. And black people said, no, we can't do that either. Can you lower the score for the blacks? Because the SAT test is for white people. It's too much. It's too hard for black people. They say, we don't feel like studying to pass the SAT. Can you put it down, put the scores down lower for the black people? White people say, all right, Lord have mercy. Y'all can't pass the test. As a matter of fact, in Ohio, I don't know if it's changed or not. If you want to become a police officer, the black people couldn't pass the civil service test because they said it was too tough. It was white people test. And so they lowered the score. They said, okay, you can't make an A. How about a B? No, we can't make a B. How about a C? No. How about a D? No, we can't make a D. And so finally they said, okay, black people, if you can make an F on the test, we'll let you in as police officers. Even the air traffic controllers, they said, we can't pass this test. And there are black organizations out there who say, okay, we'll help you cheat. It's real. Black people cannot pass these things now because they are just not smart enough. They have forgotten how to be. As they did in the old days, black people hustled, they studied, they did what they have to do because there was a shame in being dumb. No shame anymore. And so affirmative action allowed black people to get in, which means that they got to push out the smart people. The whites and some of the Asians can't get in. They're too smart, and they're too afraid to tell blacks. So blacks are not in these universities. They're not becoming doctors and lawyers and things like that because they qualified. They're becoming that way because of affirmative action. So they're not real doctors and lawyers and entertainers and things like that. It's only because, look at the entertainment world. Remember when the blacks were just bitching about white people didn't give us an award. Even Will Smith's wife, remember her? And others, no, we're going to protest. We're not. And now white people like, Lord, let's give y'all award. Let's pretend like y'all movies are good too. And even your little slave movies, we'll give you an award for that. Even your little Selma movie, y'all march down to Selma. It's true. Blacks are not getting into acting, the entertainment world, jobs, doctors and lawyers and politicians and things like that because they're qualified. They're getting it because of their color. And that's why when they get in those positions, look how they screw them up. Look what Obama did. Obama became the so-called first black president because he's black. And look what he did to the country. Big Mama Michelle Hoochie Mama all the way through the 8 years of being there. Obama tried to turn it into a socialist society. Police attacks went up through the roof. The races were divided more than any other time in history. Christians were attacked. Everything went to hell because he was not qualified. They voted him in because he was black. And look what happened. The proof is in the pudding.